What's going on YouTube? So today we're standing next to Volvo's most affordable SUV in the lineup, the new EX30. But this isn't just the regular EX30, this is the new for 2026 EX30 Cross Country. This is basically taking that formula of the EX30 and adding some more rugged elements to both the design and the capability. So without further ado, let's jump right in and check it out. All right, let's start off this Southern California review real fast with our spec dump. So this model is using a 69 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery pack, and it has dual motor performance all-wheel drive, making 422 horsepower. 0 to 60 is about 3.5 seconds, making it the quickest accelerating Volvo model, and your range is up to 227 miles.
Now, the base price of the single-motor EX30 is $38,000, and if you're looking to buy one or any new vehicle, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price.
Of course, we will be taking this on a spin later on, but first, let's close up the hood so we can take a look at the exterior and then the inside. So getting started up here in the front, you can see some very distinct differences from the regular version of the EX30. The biggest thing is the grille. So right up here in the front, the regular version has a full body color finish because of course this is an electric vehicle, but you can see that this is going to now be a matte black. And not only that, they've also kind of added a little bit of detailing throughout, so it's kind of a topographical map, you could say, inside of the grille itself, kind of indicating that more adventurous spirit of this model. Now down on the lower part, you have a little bit of silver accenting through here. The ground clearance is a little bit elevated. I'll confirm with Volvo exactly how much it is elevated from the standard version, but as you can see, regardless, it's not going to be super tall, so it's not going to do any hardcore off-roading. Now, as we take a look over here at the headlights, you'll see a very similar look to that flagship EX90 that we drove recently. You've got that Thor's hammer with the pixel theming throughout, and of course it is a full LED headlight cluster. Moving on to the wheels, the Cross Country has an 18-inch alloy. This does also have some aero cover inserts inside of it and a special matte black finish to distinguish it from the other trim levels. What's more important though is what's wrapped around it. So you can see that this actually has an all-terrain tire. This is the primary thing that's going to be giving this a little bit more off-road capability when your adventure takes you off-road. Now, signifying the ruggedness, we have a little bit of extra cladding around the wheel arches through there. And then as we move up here to our mirrors, we have the gloss black finish on board. These also have that new frameless design, just like the flagship EX90, and you have auto dimming on the driver's side with blind spot monitoring and heating.
Now, like we said, this is Volvo's most affordable SUV in the lineup, and as such, this is going to be smaller than most of their other products by a pretty significant margin. It's 166.7 inches in length, which is actually significantly smaller than something like an XC40. And in terms of overall design here at the side, all of our window surrounds are going to be blacked out. Also blacked out is the roof. That's actually a standard feature on the EX30, is a two-tone roof. I think that really looks quite nice, and the Cross Country is going to have special branding here in the quarter panel. Now, let's go ahead and head around to the rear design of this model. I have to say, I really love the way this looks. It has a very handsome and sporty look to it, but also this Cross Country adds a rugged element to it as well. So, breaking down some of the individual design touches, we have a little bit of a spoiler up here at the top. We have a rear window wiper. Volvo is spelled out prominently across the back, and this piece right through the center section is different for the Cross Country. This would otherwise be body color on the normal EX30s. Let's talk about our lighting as well, because that's a highlight for this vehicle. You have really premium LED lighting on all front and rear of the vehicle. So you have your LED brake light, your LED reverse light, and an LED amber turn signal indicator. And then down here at the lower fascia, we have a couple cross-country specific elements. And as far as the overall tow capacity, it's 3,527 pounds. Now let's talk safety. Volvos are known for safety, and all of your active safety features will be standard equipment on the EX30. And additionally, if you choose an Ultra model, that will throw in a few extra goodies as well. Now, when it comes to the exterior, this is known as Sand Dune. I love this paint color. It looks really good. There are 5 total paint colors that you can get, and you can also get some really cool accessories such as that roof rack up at the top. I think it looks really fantastic with this cross-country model. But there's a lot to talk about on the inside for this, so let's dive into that. But first, If you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we have reviewed over 2,000 vehicles at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from humble to high-end, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. All right, now let's move to the inside. This vehicle does use phone as key as the primary method of entry, although we also have the backup NFC card that you can use as well. Getting inside, there you go, just reach behind that handle there. And let's take a look at this interior. So as you can tell right from the bat, it definitely has a very unique design with lots of interesting materials and a very minimalistic look. But before we dig into any of that stuff, I want to start by talking about your seats. So with our cross-country version of the EX30, you're going to have a couple different material selections. Today we have the Nordico, which is a faux leather and a textile combination. So you got cloth at the top and then the Nordico in the center section there for a contrast look. I think it's very nice. You can also get a wool blend if you prefer that for no additional charge. And the seats themselves have 10 ways of power adjustment with this one knob doing it all. Memory seats are located inside of the screen. And let's go ahead and climb inside. Now, closing up the door, let's look around at the rest of the cabin materials. Like I said, it's got a very interesting look, and that's because Volvo used a lot of recycled and sustainable materials to give this that look, as well as, of course, support the environmental message. So over here on the door trim, you'll see the floating panel armrest with a leatherette covering. We have this interesting textured material through the center section and a soft touch plastic across the top of the dashboard. You'll see that same material kind of circle around the upper dashboard, which is pretty flat. More soft touch plastic through here. More of this material flows through the center section. And then down on this very center of the console here, we have a little bit of piano black accenting. Now, to fire up this vehicle, there's no push-button start in the traditional sense. So just like the EX90, you just put your foot on the brake and then you place it in gear. Now let's get into the individual features of the interior. One thing I want to point out right from the start, is the fact that the cross-country version is just equipped in one way. It's the Ultra version, so it's going to be a little bit higher end in terms of the equipment versus the standard EX30, which has a couple different forms you can choose from. Now, getting into that, we'll see right here, front and center, obviously there is no traditional gauge cluster. That information is going to be located in the top part of the screen. We've, of course, seen that in other types of products, including Tesla, and we'll talk more about the main screen a little bit later. Now, the steering wheel itself is very unique. You can see it's got a squared-off design. You have several different buttons that are touch-sensitive through there, and the steering wheel is going to be a manual tilt and telescoping. You adjust the mirrors inside of the display. Heating is standard on the cross-country version of this, and let's talk about interior storage next. So, I think this is one of the most unique things about this car, is because even though it's very small, Volvo has worked hard to make it feel very spacious inside of this interior. So the console is going to be quite thin and it's very versatile, so you have a few different options. So you can do 2 cup holders, kind of popped out like this. You can slide it back and do 1 cup holder. You can actually retract it completely if you don't want it in the way, and you just want to use this very large pass-through. So this is just fully open space. You even have a hidden storage cubby down there with the little bit of a lighter color material, and that's also where you'll find your USB connections. Your phones can set right there, with this side being a wireless phone charging pad. Now this storage actually passes straight through to the back, which is also very interesting, but again, just gives you a lot of versatility with this vehicle, making it as practical as possible. And then your window switches are actually right here in the center, and that's for both the front windows and, if you press that button, the back windows. Now also, I think kind of related to the storage is the overall lighting as well. So what Volvo has done is ran some ambient lighting kind of through these vent details, and you can go in there and adjust several different types of color themes. And these are all, based on different Swedish things, such as the Northern Lights. And I almost forgot to mention that in order to give the passenger as much space as possible up here in the front, they've moved the glove box to the center section. You can open that up right there, and you can see that has a fairly generous amount of space for sure. Now the shifter is going to be up here on the column. So again, you're just going to press down for drive, press up for reverse. When you go into reverse, we have the 360-degree camera system on board for today's model. As you can see, it does give you that traditional view at the top. You have the overhead view down there, and then you get your parking sensor visualization. This also comes with the parking assist function as well. Then just press the end there for park. Now, as we talk about the rest of the interior, really everything else meaningful is inside of this display. So this is a 12.3-inch display. It is standard equipment. And like I was saying, you have all the different functionalities kind of layered, starting with your gauge cluster at the top, main infotainment system, and then your climate controls down there at the bottom. So starting with the climate controls, we have a dual zone automatic setup on board. You can adjust the temperature just by tapping into that and going up and down. Right now it's set to the sync so that both of them are the same temperature. Again, this has the heated steering wheel. This also has standard 3-stage heated seats for the cross country, but seat ventilation is not available for those of you who live in warmer climates. Now, as far as this software is concerned, this is Volvo's latest software design. It has Google built in, so you can see right now we have Google Maps pulled up. You can also pair your phone as well, but if you just want to use the built-in, you can also have the Assist and the Play Store to download some different applications. Now, of course, there's no traditional volume knob, but this has a 9-speaker Harman Kardon sound system that you can control with the steering wheel, or you can also go over here and swipe up and down manually. One of the interesting things is that they've gone with a full soundbar actually across the entire front portion of the dashboard, and that's because they took the speakers out of the traditional spot, which would be the door trim, and allow this to be completely free for storage. So you can see that clearly demonstrated right here by the fact we have the giant water bottle and the umbrella. Now up top, we've got an auto-dimming mirror. And then finishing up the front of cabin, you can see we have a large fixed glass sunroof.
All right, so now let's talk about the rear seat area for this EX30. Now, when it comes to the rear seat, like I said on the outside, this is a very small SUV. It's 166 inches in length, so is by far the smallest Volvo SUV in the lineup. And when it comes to rear space, that will be reflected in your numbers. So you're sitting at 32.3 inches of legroom, 38 inches of headroom. Now, the headroom itself is actually quite good, especially for a SUV of this size, but the legroom is definitely on the smaller end. Now, I'm 5'9" for reference, and of course, I brought along the official Car Confections ruler. The reason you do that is so we can get a realistic knee room for you. This seat is adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8". I'm 5'9", like I just said. About 5 inches of knee room. That's honestly not horrible. My feet can partially go up underneath of the seat, but it is a little bit on the tight side. And then speaking of these seats, they are quite comfortable, but I do like that they have the same design as up in the front. And then as far as functionality, we do not really have any functionality when it comes to reclining or anything like that. And there's also not a center armrest, which I'm quite disappointed in. This is a luxury product after all, so I really wish they had included an armrest. Now, let's talk about other features that are included. We have our window switches right here in the back, 2 USB ports, a little storage cubby, no vents or anything though in the rear. And then of course this is the storage compartment that you can get to from the front of the vehicle as well. You can also fully remove this, so if you wanted to like maybe put trash in this, you can remove it and dump it. I definitely like those like cool touches that Volvo includes. No heated rear seats back here. And then as far as the door trim, nicely done. We have the same materials as the front with that unique material through the center section. All of your, touch points are very premium feeling, and you also have a ton of door storage in the back as well. Walking up to the tailgate, of course, we do have a power one, and let's see how much cargo capacity you're going to have on board. Well, unfortunately, it's not a ton. Like I said, this is a very small vehicle, so about 12 cubic feet of space behind the second row of seats. If I fold those seats down, which, by the way, I can do, they are 60-40 split. Let's see if I can find the button here with this cargo cover installed. There we go. Fold those seats down. And now that I've got them folded down, as you can see, they are completely flat with the floor, and that's going to reveal overall cargo capacity of around 32 cubic feet. So once more, Not a ton of cargo capacity. It's definitely a lot smaller than the XC40. It's also a lot smaller than vehicles like the XC60. So keep that in mind, what your space needs are for this model. And, you know, also compared to maybe some of the competition that you might be cross-shopping with, if it's a luxury compact SUV, you could go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings and maybe see how this would compare when it comes to cargo space, technology, as well as powertrain choices. But certainly it's going to be on the smaller end. Now, let's get our cargo length, width, and height figures. As far as cargo length behind Drew's 5'8" driving position, only about 62 inches of length. From behind the second row of seats, 29 inches of length. 39 inches wide is our opening, and then I'm going to do my best on the height. Yeah, the height's going to be really honestly the smallest thing. 24 inches in height is really, really small. And then the load-in height is 30 inches tall. Now, underneath of the floor, there is actually quite a bit of extra space up under here, so you might be utilizing this pretty frequently. It's good enough to fit your charge cable. Also, keep in mind that this is an electric product, so you do have the frunk up in the front of the vehicle. It's not huge, but it is big enough to maybe put some takeout or a few different things that don't fit here in the back. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the Volvo EX30. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a lot, as you can see on the screen right now. We'll also be getting things like our sound level reading. But first, we need to start with a hard acceleration because this thing is way faster than you might expect. Whew. That is quick.
Very fast. So, EX30 Cross Country. This vehicle comes with the twin performance powertrain. So that's going to be the up-level version. They have now added a single motor rear-wheel drive version. We'll talk about the actual specs of these things in just a second. But since the Cross Country comes standard with the highest performance option, that means we have 422 horsepower and about 400 pound-feet of torque on board. And boy, is it quick when you put your foot down. Volvo actually says this is the quickest accelerating model they have. It's 3.4 with the standard and 3.5 seconds to 60 with the cross-country model. So it's definitely quite tremendous. Now, I'm in just the standard drive mode right now, and when I put my foot down, there was just a second where it was like,
do you really
hesitate? Like, are you sure? And it was like, bam.
Yeah, it really pushes you back in your seat, as you would expect for a sub 4 second 0 to 60. This really does surprise you with how fast it is, and the fact that this model is, you know, quite attainable in price point to be delivering that level of performance is really quite incredible. That's for sure. It is also a very small vehicle, so that 422 horsepower really is just a lot of power for a vehicle in this size category.
Oh,
that's
okay.
That's another level.
Yeah, there's the 3.5 seconds there. We've been in enough cars, especially fast electric cars. You can pretty much tell. Are they telling the truth? They're telling the truth.
Yeah. Well, if you're curious, it will throw your phone off of the wireless phone charging pad. That's
Where
for
did
sure.
It go?
Probably went to the back seat because it's all connected in the storage.
Oh,
so
dear.
That is quite a fast acceleration for this EX30. That is for certain. Now, we've also got to talk about the other version of the EX30, which is the single motor rear drive model. So that's definitely designed to give you that more affordable price tag that starts at under $40,000. We'll talk about the price in just a little bit. But that model is still quite quick. It's going to have the same 69 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery. Both of the versions of the EX30 have that. About 64 kilowatt hours of that is usable capacity, and that's going to have around 268 horsepower. So you are, definitely making a sacrifice when it comes to the overall horsepower. That's for sure. It's definitely not as fast as this, but it still goes 0 to 60 in 5.1 seconds. So that's certainly not, slow by any stretch of the imagination. This is a small vehicle, and even having, under 300 horsepower with that all-electric torque gets you off the line quite quickly to give you that 5.1 second 0 to 60. And we are going 55 miles per hour, and we have it on fan speed 1. So let's go ahead and get our sound level reading in the EX30 Cross Country. quite good. 56.5 decibels is what we are sitting at as our sound level reading in this model. We don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to other luxury subcompact SUVs. We can find that at carconfections.com/sound level readings. And while that's not the quietest sound level reading that we've ever gotten in this segment, I will point out that we are here in California, so we're not on our official Kentucky stretch of road, and I would expect that it would actually test a little bit quieter in Kentucky due to the louder road surfacing here. So I think that's quite a good, testament to this vehicle when it comes to sound level reading. We were just talking about this off camera, but even though we have the all-terrain tires, I don't think I hear any tire noise whatsoever. So don't be concerned about that when you choose the cross country at all, because you're not going to hear any of those all-terrain tires on the outside. Only thing I'm hearing is just a little bit of wind. Now, we were just talking about those all-terrain tires, so let's also talk about ride quality when it comes to this. I have to say, with the EX30, this is the most extensive amount of time that we've been able to drive it. We've been driving it around all morning long here in California, and I am quite impressed with the ride quality. Even though this is a very small package, it does feel very premium, and it's a ride and drive experience. When you hit a bump in the road, it does a pretty good job of soaking things up, and the all-terrain tires, I imagine, do kind of help with that to make it even smoother than other versions of the EX30. The seats, in typical Volvo fashion, are also quite comfortable.
So right now we're driving up the beautiful Pacific Coast Highway in Southern California, and we have some corners coming up. We talked a lot about the performance of this model in terms of that, 0 to 60, but let's talk about the handling characteristic. Now, I will say, despite what the 0 to 60 indicates, this is not a super high performance vehicle. There's certainly going to be a lot of other electric crossovers that are going to be a little bit more performance minded, like a Model Y Performance and stuff like that, or Plaid, I think they now call it. But in terms of the handling, still you're going to have a very agile feel. Most of the weight is down low in the body. There's a little bit more body roll on this model versus the regular EX30 just because it's a little taller.
Let's hit range and charging as well. That's, of course, important for any electric product. Well, the range is going to range from 203 miles on the base end for this cross country with the, I believe, roof rack up at the top. 227 is your base range, and then it goes all the way up to 261 miles of range with the rear drive single motor model. So that certainly is actually pretty good out of a 69 kilowatt hour battery pack. Now, as far as the charging, this does have CCS charging, so it has not been updated to the latest NACS charge port just yet, so that's something to keep in mind. And as far as the max charging speed, it's about 150 kilowatts as the charging speed. And let's get into our slam dunk and airball, our favorite and least favorite element. Drew, why don't you kick us off with the slam dunk for the EX30?
So the slam dunk has got to be the interior packaging of this model. They just did an absolutely tremendous job of taking what is really a pretty limited amount of space, because it is a small crossover, and just making the most of it. It feels very airy in here. You wouldn't know that it's small at all when you first get inside, and you also have so many unique packaging solutions that it makes it very versatile as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, on the flip side, our airball is going to be the range on this model. We have to say we're a little disappointed, especially here in the cross country, that you'd be, sitting in the low 200 miles of range on a full charge. That's pretty, low compared to a lot of its rivals, especially at this price point. Granted, it's not a huge battery size, but, given the smaller body of this model, I was hoping that they would maybe be able to get it a little bit more efficient to, maximize your range, maybe up to the upper 200s or low 300 miles of range. All right, so now we've got to talk about pricing. So like we said at the very beginning of this video, this is Volvo's most affordable SUV that they are selling. $38,950 is your base price for the single motor rear wheel drive model. Now, of course, it elevates up from there. This cross country is the most expensive EX30 you can get, starting at $48,150. Now, let's take a look at our window sticker here. $48,150 is what we have today. Now, I will say some of these numbers are definitely not matching up with what we have on the build-in price currently, so take this with a grain of salt. We also have a random $3,500 charge that has no reason for it on this one. This sticker says around 55 grand. However, we just built one on Volvo's website and it's sitting at around $50,000. So that's certainly a little bit more of an attractive price point for this EX30. And if you're curious as to where this is being manufactured, it is now being manufactured in Belgium for the US market. Now, if you're looking to buy a Volvo EX30 or any new vehicle, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that'll connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool to use while dealer negotiating. If you'd like to take advantage of that, as well as things like our monthly payment tool, you can find a link to that in our video description down below, as well as a pinned comment at the top of this video. But buying a vehicle is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's talk about resale and reliability. First up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, we took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Volvo EX30's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 42.5% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 12.5%. Now, it is worth noting that it is below industry average for all vehicle brands. However, it is actually slightly above some of the German luxury automakers, such as Mercedes-Benz and BMW. Do also note that this product being electric does either positively or negatively affect the resale value depending on market conditions.
Now, I've also done the same for reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. This takes into account several reliability studies from trustworthy sources and combines them in a way that gives you the most holistic picture. In this regard, Volvo is rated below industry average for all vehicle brands.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values, our reliability data, or our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. Now, when it comes to the EX30's warranty, that's also important to consider. We have a basic and powertrain warranty of 4 years and 50,000 miles. The battery components are specifically warranted for 8 years and 100,000 miles, and the complementary maintenance is now 2 years and 20,000 miles instead of the previous 3 years that it was before. And guys, that's going to wrap up our in-depth review of the 2026 Volvo EX30. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we hope you did, we'd appreciate you hitting that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to be a part of our Car Confections family. We have a lot of fun on this channel, and I promise you won't want to miss out. If you're already part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support. You make this all possible. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.